win, lose, win, lose. You are not going down, but you are not going up either. Or worse, going down so slowly you do not notice until it is too late. And the most dangerous part? You do not even know you are trapped. If that pattern sounds familiar, if you have had weeks where everything clicked, followed by 1 or 2 sessions that wiped it all out, you are not unlucky. You are not undisciplined. You are not broken. You are inside something called the losing cycle. And almost every trader who has ever blown an account has been through it. In this video, I am going to show you exactly how the cycle works, why your brain, not your strategy, makes it almost impossible to break, and the specific step-by-step protocols to get out. Not try to be calmer, not be more disciplined. Actual steps, in the exact moment you need them. This video will not show you a single trade setup. No entries, no chart patterns, no indicators. This is entirely about the cycle, why it exists, why it repeats, and the specific steps to stop it. So let me show you what the cycle actually looks like, because once you see the 4 stages, you will start recognizing exactly where you are in it. Stage 1. I call it the Holy Grail illusion. You find a new strategy, a new system. Maybe someone on YouTube showed it to you, maybe you built it yourself. And for the first few weeks, it works. The market conditions happen to be favorable. You hit a winning streak. Confidence goes through the roof. And this is where the damage starts, because your brain begins to believe the gains will come forever, linearly, predictably, on demand. Then stage 2 arrives, the variance encounter. Any system, no matter how good, goes through losing streaks. That is not a flaw. That is mathematics. A well-tested system can lose 6, 7, even 10 trades in a row and still be working perfectly. The key word is tested. Backtesting means going back through at least 200 historical setups and recording what would have happened, entry, exit, result, as if you had taken them. That is how you discover your system's real behavior under pressure, before real money is on the line. If you have not done that, you do not actually know your system's true drawdown profile. You cannot tell variance from failure. But when the first real losses hit, you do not think variance. You think, something is wrong with my strategy. And so stage 3 begins. Toxic tinkering. You add indicators. You change your risk rules. You widen your stop loss. You abandon the original plan. Not because the plan was bad, but because your brain was not designed for variance. And here is the devastating part. You skip the backtesting. You change things based on emotion, not data. The edge that existed in your original system, you just destroyed it. And so stage 4 arrives. Collapse and restart. Large losses follow. You lose faith in the entire system. You throw it all out. And you start searching for the next holy grail. And the cycle begins again. The reason this cycle is so hard to break has nothing to do with your willpower. I'm going to show you the science behind that right now. Because the real enemy is not your strategy. The real enemy is 12 milliseconds. Here is why incredibly smart people make terrible decisions in front of a chart. When you take a financial loss, a real one that stings, your brain does not process it as a number on a spreadsheet. It treats it the same way it treats a physical threat to your survival. The amygdala, the brain's fear center, fires in 12 milliseconds. That is faster than your rational prefrontal cortex can even register what happened. You react before you can think, not because you are weak, because you are human. And then comes the cortisol. Neuroscientist John Coates studied traders on real London trading floors. He found that cortisol levels spike up to 68% during high volatility sessions. 68%. That is not stress. That is a biochemical state change. Your brain is now running on survival mode. And here is the timing that matters most. Cortisol peaks at 30 minutes after the loss, and its effects impair your judgment for up to 2 hours. That means the period right after a big loss, the moment when every instinct tells you to get back in and recover, is the worst possible time to make a trading decision. This is not a character flaw. This is not weakness. This is biology. But understanding the biology is not an excuse. It is an explanation. And that distinction matters. Because once you know the mechanism, you can build systems to interrupt it. That is exactly what we're going to do. Now that you understand the biology, let us look at the exact 3 moments where traders consistently fall apart. There are 3 specific moments, 3 psychological triggers, where traders consistently lose control. If you recognize yourself in even one of them, this next section is going to change how you trade. Trigger 1. Overconfidence. Here is something counterintuitive. The largest losses in trading almost never come after losing streaks. They come after winning streaks. A winning streak releases dopamine. Your brain feels invincible. You start using the house money effect, thinking that profits are free money, so the rules do not quite apply to you anymore. And it does not happen all at once. It happens gradually. Each win, you size up just a little more. Each win, you take a setup that is just a little weaker. By the time the market shifts, you are far more exposed than you realize, and one session undoes weeks of work. Trigger 2. FOMO. When you watch a market move sharply, even before you are in it, your brain's reward circuits fire as if you are already profiting. That dopamine release makes the upside look massive and completely blocks your awareness of the downside. Researchers Barber and Odean studied this directly. The most active individual traders, the ones chasing every move, underperformed passive investors by 6.5% every year, not in one bad year, every year. And if you trade with leverage, the damage compounds faster. Data from prop trading firms shows that traders who revenge trade after a loss have an account failure rate more than double those who step away and reset. FOMO does not just cost you performance, it costs you your seat at the table. Trigger 3. Loss aversion. You hold losing trades too long, hoping for a reversal. You close winning trades too early, grabbing safety before the position fully plays out. The result, your average loss exceeds your average gain, and it does not matter how good your strategy is. The math destroys you. This is why win rate alone means nothing. A trader with a 60% win rate can still lose money consistently if their average winner is smaller than their average loser, and a trader with a 40% win rate can be very profitable if their average winner is 2 or 3 times their average loser. The math always wins, regardless of how often you are right. Now, here is where the thinking has to change completely, because there is one distinction that most traders never learn, and it separates the professionals from everyone else. Stop blaming yourself for every loss, but start identifying exactly which losses deserve intervention. There are 2 completely different kinds of losing trades, and if you cannot tell them apart, you will never stop the cycle. A bad trade is a trade where you followed your plan perfectly. You respected your rules. You managed your risk. The market just went the other way. That is not a failure. That is the cost of doing business. Every professional trader has them. Every single day. A tilt trade is different. You ignored your plan. You skipped your rules. You moved your stop loss. You increased your size after a loss. You placed the trade from anger, panic, or desperation. That is the trade that destroys accounts, not because it lost, but because it was placed without discipline. There is a third category worth mentioning, and it is the most dangerous of all. The rationalized trade. This is when you broke your rule, but convinced yourself you had a good reason. You moved your stop loss because the structure changed. You sized up because this setup is especially strong. These feel like discipline. They sound like analysis, but they are not. The only defense? Write your rules before the trade. If you are changing them during the trade, you are rationalizing. Here is a number that makes this concrete. Win rate drops from 48% to 32% for trades placed within 5 minutes of a prior loss. 5 minutes. Your judgment is compromised for up to 2 hours, but most traders are back in the market in 5. The question you need to ask after every losing trade is not, should I have made this trade? It is, did I follow my plan when I made this trade? And if your plan only exists in your head, it is not a plan. It is a preference. Write it down before you trade. 1 page is enough. 3 criteria for entry. Maximum risk per trade. Your stop placement rule. Done. That is your plan. If you are changing any of those during a trade, you already know the answer, because the answer to that question determines everything that comes next. Here is where the thinking has to change at the deepest level. Mark Douglas spent 30 years studying what separates traders who survive from traders who do not, and he landed on one idea that changes everything. The degree to which you think you know, assume you know, or in any way need to know what will happen next, is inversely proportional to your success as a trader. Read that again. The need to be right is not neutral. It is actively working against you. Here is the reframe that unlocks everything. The casino. A casino does not know the result of any single hand of blackjack. It does not care who wins a given round. It does not panic when a player goes on a hot streak, but it is completely confident about its annual profit, because it does not need to win every hand. It just needs to let the edge work through enough repetitions. You are the casino, not the gambler. Douglas called this thinking in probabilities, and he gave us 5 fundamental truths to internalize. 1. Anything can happen at any time. Always use a stop loss. 2. You do not need to know what happens next to make money. Edge works over sample size, not individual trades. 3. Wins and losses are randomly distributed. One losing trade means nothing about the next one. 4. An edge is a higher probability, not a guarantee. No setup is ever certain. 5. Every market moment is unique. This means past outcomes do not determine future results. A setup that worked last week has no obligation to work this week, and a setup that failed last week has no obligation to fail again. Judge each trade on its own merits, not on the emotional residue of what happened before. When you internalize these 5 truths, a losing trade stops being a failure. It becomes a data point. The pain does not disappear, but it stops having the power to make you act against yourself. Now I want to give you the specific actions to take, not in theory, but in the exact moment you feel yourself losing control. The first 60 seconds after a big loss are the most important. Here is exactly what to do. There are 3 layers of recovery protocol. You use them in order depending on how severe the situation is. Layer 1. The pattern interrupt. This activates the moment you feel any of these warning signs. You are grinding your teeth, checking your P&L every few seconds. You feel the impulse, the almost physical pull, to increase your size to get it back. If you are checking your P&L more than once per minute, that is not monitoring. That is anxiety. That is your signal. When you notice that, stop immediately. Close the trading platform, not minimize. Close it completely. Take 5 slow, conscious breaths. Stand up, leave the desk. Minimum 15 minutes. Why 15 minutes? Because cortisol peaks at 30 minutes. Every minute you stay away from the screen is a minute closer to rational thinking. Layer 2. The 5-step recovery protocol. This is for after a significant loss, when you are ready to return but not certain you should. Step 1. Pattern interrupt. Close the platform, 15 minutes minimum. Step 2. Review. Read back 3 trades you executed correctly, not 3 winning trades, 3 trades you executed with discipline. This rebuilds your mental baseline. Step 3. Identify. Write down, in actual words, what triggered the loss of control. Was it money pain, ego wound, sense of injustice? Naming it reduces the amygdala's grip on your behavior. Step 4. Set strict criteria. Before your next trade, write down exactly what the setup must look like. If the market does not give you that, you do not trade. Step 5. Rebuild. Trade at 50% of your normal size for the next 3 trades. Only return to full size after 3 clean, disciplined executions. And layer 3. This is for when there has been a real blow-up. You stop trading real money completely. Move to paper trading, but understand what it is actually for. Paper trading is not a simulation of real trading. It is a rehearsal for clean execution. Use it to rebuild the habit of following your process correctly before real money reactivates real pressure. Then, when you are executing cleanly on paper, return to live trading at micro size. Real money, but tiny. small enough that a loss feels like a parking ticket, not a car accident. Because real money reactivates real discipline in a way paper never can. Return to 25% of normal risk. And do not increase size until you have recovered 50% of the drawdown through small, consistent trades. Do not chase the loss. The market will still be there tomorrow. Your account may not be. There is one question that will tell you within seconds whether you are growing as a trader or just spinning in place. Most traders ask, "Did I make money today?" That is the wrong question, because the market controls that answer. The market controls whether your setup plays out. The market controls news events, liquidity, spreads, everything. You control none of that, but you control this. Did I follow my plan? That is the only question that belongs to you. When you start measuring yourself by process, not outcome, something shifts. A losing trade that followed your plan becomes evidence of discipline. A winning trade that broke your rules becomes a warning sign, not a celebration. The traders who break the losing cycle are not the ones who found a better strategy. They are the ones who change the question. One more thing before I let you go. The losing cycle is not permanent, but it will repeat over and over until you interrupt it consciously. The information alone is not enough. You have to use it in the moment. So here's what I want you to do right now. Tell me in the comments, which stage of the cycle have you caught yourself in most often? Stage 1, 2, 3, or 4. I read every comment. And if you want to go deeper on the psychology, the next video covers something closely related, the 4 stages of learning and why most traders get stuck between stage 1 and stage 2, and mistake that stagnation for evidence they are not cut out for trading. You are cut out for it. You just needed to know what was holding you back. Now you do.